Minecraft 1.20 has been a lot of fun, but it's easy to lose track of how far Minecraft has come over its 10 plus years since release. So I wanted to go back, revisiting every major version of Minecraft and doing it all in 100 days. So we're gonna bring one world from ancient to archaeology, all the way up to the latest version, updating every 5 days. So join me as we take a trip through time in Minecraft. I spawned in a mixed forest, and don't worry, that's still me, even though I don't look like me. Playing around in older Minecraft meant maybe fighting with the settings for the very early part of the game, but we're gonna get this started. I killed a few sheep, which didn't drop any mutton, only wool. It's the only way to get it right now. And clicking as fast as possible for maximum BPM was bullying other animals for food. I ran down, grabbed a little bit of stone, set up with the torches, infinitely struggling with the fact that I can't shift click or drag click or anything else along those lines, but I found kind of the quintessential valley area, which, if you remember back to the video that really launched my career, felt kind of right. So after cooking up a few chicken and deciding, you know what, this is as good a place as any, let's go retro on where we're gonna base for this video. I threw down some seeds and a very, very basic farm. And you wanna see a magic trick? The wool will magically transform from white to red, true OGs remember, sleeping and going into day 2, where the main thing I need to do is just find a place to go mining. Now, I could just start digging a staircase down, but that's boring. So I went to an area that was filled with mobs to fight with a whole bunch of them. And one of the skeletons was just straight up going for a trick shot as I'm fighting creepers with a pickaxe, which is basically fighting them with my fists in this version of the game. I worked my way down through the mine shaft, breaking iron ore, which drops the blocks, not raw iron. That is a very new addition in perspective. But I'm grabbing some spruce wood, which turns into oak planks, which turns into a chest that I immediately started dropping everything off in, taking a quick nap, and going into day 3. And this day is very straightforward, early Minecraft world. Building a house, getting iron armor. So let me tell you some of the things that I want to do in this world that I can't do anymore in Minecraft. Things you're just not allowed. I want to craft a god apple. I want to make illegal slabs. I want to go and exploit enchanting in a way that it was never intended to be done. I missed a lot of those things my first time going through an updating world, and I am not missing them this time around. But as I go to sleep on day 3, I'm realizing I might not get everything except whacking a skeleton in the face with a stick. So if I do happen to miss anything, let me know down in the comments and maybe we do this another time. I took that one femur from the skeleton, getting myself a dog friend, which just feels right. Dropping them off to sit by the house so they would be safe for forever. And then suffering through not having drag clicking or shift clicking or even right clicking just yet, having to craft up a whole bunch of wooden slabs. Now, these will become illegal at a future point in Minecraft, and we're only gonna open up this chest one more time. So make sure you comment when these change and when they become illegal. The first comment to save the day where I opened the chest and the slabs were illegal, you get a prize. But with my contraband secured, I grabbed a bucket of water and headed down into the mines, grabbing all of the gold, because this is going to be essential for my second illegal crafting recipe, and all of the iron and lapis and other materials, just to make sure that I can continue on actual standard vanilla progression in the world. The lava just looks weird, and the skeletons are absolute snipers and menaces, and without things like shields, this is actually kind of challenging. I forget how old Minecraft just requires a different brain. But as we go into day 5, I'm crafting the quintessential starter Minecraft house. This is the kind of thing that you would see in basically every thumbnail. This is 2011 YouTube right here. And it feels so interesting and just a unique parallel from the mega builds that I make now and the meta that is YouTube of bigger and better with Minecraft, to just make a small little house in a valley with just some beautiful little logs on the corners. Show me a more 1.0 house. I dare you. I dare you to show me. Don't worry, we are gonna make this look better, but that comes in the next version of the game. And with that, we've hit our first update. Minecraft 1.1 was kind of more of the same, and it adds features that probably would think had been in the game way longer. Things like beaches and desert hills. It also added the super flat world type. Shout out to my friend Mogswamp, who's been on One World since basically this version released. And we started this update by going directly back down into the mines. I'm not gonna head out to explore for new biomes just yet. I wanna first make sure that I have all the resources I need to succeed. And the main one of that is a lot of gold. But I was busy finding diamonds. Lots of diamonds. And it's really interesting how they kind of just plop into the world. It feels distinctly different. I continued exploring for a while until I got to what was then a pretty big cave with actual multiple layers all intersecting in the large bubble caves. That was the max back in the day. The nacho lava was definitely weird, and climbing up water to get to the surface once you run out of food is very, very slow. But I made my way back to the house just in time to watch my dogs stand up on their own and absolutely wreck a skeleton. Good boy, grunts. Day 7, I'm using bone meal, which is OP in older versions. It immediately put wheat to the maximum growth stage for one click. No more of this multiple that you see in later versions. So that's definitely keeping me alive. I use the wheat to lure a bunch of sheep into a hole instead of building a fence and a pen, and the world will remember that and I will regret it later. But just watching bounce in this is honestly, it's pretty entertaining. I'm laughing now recording voiceover. From there, I made myself a bow, the quintessential diamond pickaxe, and completed my full iron armor set, baking myself up a bunch of bread, getting the old school achievements, which were the predecessors to the advancements, which I got all of them in a video. Go check that one out. But I jumped back down into the mine for the shot you know was coming eventually. Grabbing a whole bunch more obsidian through the power of editing, and then continuing caving along, just seeing where I can find resources and fighting Enderman for pearls and grabbing whatever diamonds I could find. As it rolled over to day 8, the first thing I found was a zombie spawner. Well, that's underwhelming. This, however, is not craftable yet. I'm taking it. With some new unique blocks in hand, I used the bones from the skeletons I had fought underground to tame several more wolves and a diamond sword to bully several more pigs. And I was reminded how bad the AI pathfinding was in older versions. Dogs, stop hurting yourself. I specifically said stop hurting yourself. With unfortunately fewer dogs than I had originally collected, I did a little bit of farming and cooking around the base, using wheat to store more sheep and a few chickens into a hole, because you breed chickens with wheat and not seeds in this version of the game. And the hole just continues to be just a source of joy and entertainment. Day 9, I'm doing a little bit of general exploring around the world, killing whatever cows I can find for leather, just to have that. I'm really trying to bank on earlier, easier, cheaper recipes for sugarcane for books. But with an army of wolves to back me up now, I felt a little bit safer going a little bit later into the night to fight zombies and try to get early experience, which is a lot more potent in earlier versions, to be able to get up to level 30 to prepare for much later enchanting. No way did I just find a spider jockey. Get him. I can't. I genuinely cannot believe that. That's super rare in this version of Minecraft. I continued working with my 4-legged murder machines throughout the night. They would turn into shadow creatures whenever they got wet. It's a side effect. That's normal, right? But they don't interact with creepers, who make holes that I need to repair by the sugarcane farm. The next morning, I put down a chest for our second illegal project, Project Uncraftable. A little bit more on that a little later, but we're repairing the creeper holes that had been caused throughout the night and breeding the animals and growing all of the sugarcane, because that can be converted into paper, which is much more OP in earlier versions. I started smelting up all of the gold that I had in my single furnace, doing terraforming while I was waiting, and throwing gold blocks and ingots into the Uncraftable chest. And yeah, you can probably figure it out. We're going for god apples. But for that, we're on the clock, and it was time to tick over to the next update. Minecraft 1.2 added the jungle biome to the game, as well as iron golems, bottles of enchanting, ocelots, which are not cats, those are added in a later version of the game, and I will fight you to the death over that, zombie siege sieges, the OG raids, and mine shafts, the things you see in basically every Legundo video. It also doubled the world height to 256 blocks. Again, just putting Minecraft's past into perspective. And this was going to be our first update that we're going to venture out and see what the world had to offer. Once it had converted and I spent some time breeding up all of the wolves to just continue growing my army, I made myself a diamond chestplate, filled my pockets, and headed out in a random direction, coming across a desert and a jungle biome, actually relatively close to the house. I grabbed one of the trees and a few saplings. I want to collect every type of wood in the world if possible. While the gold was done smelting, I'm throwing more blocks into the chest for Project Uncraftable, and I can't quite get apples yet, but we'll get to that when the time actually comes. I'm using the paper to make books in a very weird recipe that I remember from back in the day. It's not too long before leather gets added into the mix, and people were very upset about that at the time. So I'm just trying to get to full enchanting requirements a little bit early and cheaper. Day 12, we're back down into the same mine shaft, grabbing more coal so I can create more torches, and stumbling across yet another dungeon. This one a skeleton dungeon. The loot inside was relatively mid, kind of like last time. I did get a bucket though, that was nice. But the main thing I'm down here grabbing for is more gold. There's a limited number of versions possible before I can't craft a god apple anymore, and I want to do this as quickly as I can. Finding another dungeon with a spider dungeon, I have the trifecta at this point. These are the only ones that really spawn like this. But again, if you're looking for recent dungeon loot like records and god apples, those aren't really a thing just yet. Caving around and digging around the different pockets of lava, I'm still finding diamonds, working my way up to a full armor set at some point in time, but I headed back to the surface as is tradition, I ran out of food. Going into day 13, you can finally drag click. So I'm throwing down all of the gold to be able to make more gold blocks for Project Uncraftable, harvesting all of the wheat, killing chickens, making spruce, making books from paper, and converting the house from oak into spruce planks. You can say I spruced it up a little bit.
No. It's now illegal.
I also put some effort into making some basic pathing with the gravel. We'll do a lot more decorating as more blocks become available, but right now, this is the best we got. Day 14, it's time for the first setback and tragedy of the world. I had so many plans for that. That one stray wolf has caused me so many issues. Oh no. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that's genuinely unfortunate. We'll be able to recover, but it is gonna take us a little bit of time to do that. So I thought instead, let's just get a little bit more of a farm together using a lily pad that I collected to make it a little bit safer. I'm not gonna lie, I spent like half the day just staring at that empty hole and upset at myself for not using a fence or something. Day 15, I'm doing more exploring in my local area, grabbing some different leaves. I'm using a hoe, even though that doesn't become the tool for leaves until 1.16? Wait, seriously? 1.16? But I'm chopping down pumpkins, which are all jack-o'-lanterns in this world, killing cows by throwing them in a pit which goes to the void. I did follow after one of them because this felt like a pretty deep mine shaft, at least relative for 1.2, and there was possibility for diamonds and other resources around here. I marked it with torches and would never return to this location, having forgotten where it was since I have no object permanence. But from there, I planted up the pumpkin seeds that I had crafted from the jack-o'-lanterns and then smelted up some steak, Sierra. Smelted. Smelted. It's a furnace. You smelt things in a furnace, okay? Just new update. Minecraft 1.3 added some things that you probably were surprised they took this long. Things like desert and jungle pyramids, which spawned in the world and probably desperately need an upgrade. Golden apples, now having the enchanted golden apple recipe. This is what we're waiting for. But also things like emeralds and trading. The core mechanics of the game took 3 versions to get added. So I logged into the world in 1.3 and things immediately got interesting. Yeah, it seems like the creepers are getting a little bit smarter in newer versions. But after repairing that and harvesting the sugarcane, turns out my time was up and books were now far more expensive, requiring leather. So let's go kill some more cows. I headed off in the direction that I thought that hole was in, since there were a bunch more cows around it. And while I found all the cows, I didn't find that hole. I found a different one. I told you I'd forgotten where it was. But I headed down into the cave system, following along and just noodling my way through before digging into, wait, what was that again, Legundo, from 60 seconds ago? And mine shafts, the things you see in basically every Legundo video. But I started exploring my way through the mine shaft, which in older versions of the game had chests and not minecart chests as where they actually lived in, which caused for some interesting interactions if you ever saw one intersect with the dungeon. Thankfully though, the large wide open tunnels helped me find a lot more gold, and the one spawner was halfway covered in lava, so it made this a pretty easy mine shaft to raid. I dug my way back up to the surface and had realized the day had rolled over. So I built a little tower, water bucketing down, and then running back through the desert, through the jungle, and back towards home. And okay, fine, I'll use a fence instead of just putting all my mobs in a hole in the ground. Just no originality game, gosh. On day 18, I have completed all of the gold I need for the first step of Project Uncraftable, and I'm trying to get my way towards a second. That would be cool. The only thing I need now is an apple, and that's actually gonna be a little bit harder to get in this version. But after a little bit of farming and a little bit of mining for coal, I'm throwing down torches throughout the valley to make myself a safety wall of light. I don't like putting walls around basically anything. I wanna feel connected to the world that I'm living in, so light is my main defender. And we're flying through this update, and we're almost 20 days into this world, so it's time to get started on maybe not a mega base, but more of an actual base proper instead of the little starter house down in the valley. And like I said at the very beginning of the video, we're gonna go classic here, a throwback all the way back to my very first 100 days video. But I'm doing equal time between mining into the mountain and doing farming, and I guess an apple might have been easier than I originally thought. Yes, yes. This is the last thing I needed for Project Uncraftable. Okay, let's do this. Enchanted golden apple. You can just make them. I never got to do this the first time around. That is awesome. With one of my main goals already complete, I'm riding high, and I'm feeling we're gonna end this update strong. So I spent most of day 20 building out an initial base, or the entrance for the base. Like I said, we're going all the way back to my original 100 days video, which means we're building a hobbit hole into the mountain, and not exactly the same modular design, but I wanna keep the circle window, the main walkway up to it. I want this to be a throwback and a homage to maybe not Minecraft's origins, but mine. But that is going to be a bigger project, so I slept down in the starter house as we rolled over to our next update. Minecraft 1.4 was up next because that's how numbers work, and it added spooky things like carrots and potatoes, witches, withers, and the wither skeleton. Now we haven't even ventured into the Nether yet, and we probably won't for another update or two because this update is gonna be all about building. Since cobble walls are now a thing, I use them to decorate the staircase out in front of the base and then focused a lot on the interior. I'm gonna go for a design that harkens back to my very first Minecraft hardcore base from my first 100 days video, which is gonna be a hobbit hole inside a mountain with all sorts of little modules and areas around it. You can't put chests next to each other just yet, so I'll leave that space for a later update when it becomes possible. But I'm doing the building, the farming, the mining, and you know what? Let's cue up a little montage. With a couple days of building done, my need for leather was going to greatly increase, both for books, now that it was required, as well as item frames and other decorative things that I'm gonna want around the base. And for that, we need cows at home. So I used wheat, which actually had a much higher follow radius in older versions of the game, so it was easier to move mobs, and lured a few cows over towards the base, getting them inside a fence post next to their brethren of different types. I also experienced a phase shifting sheep who just made its way through the fence somehow, and disappeared shortly after that. But now that I actually have something to build for, I'm getting a bit of sand and setting up a smelter wall. No big super smelter here. Crafting that up into glass, which I can use to close in the front of the window for the base, and terraforming the ground around the circular window so that it fits in nicely and feels like it's kind of just nestled in where it belongs. With a bit of detailing, like making sure fences are in place, farms are up to date, and cobble and wood are all set up in place, this building will grow with me, and it will be decorated as we continue to make our way through the generations, but it's time for another jump. The next update deals exclusively with things that are way too complicated for my tiny little Minecraft brain. It's almost all about redstone. And while I'm going to use some of these components for sure, it does mean that we have a little bit of breathing room before new content that I'm mentally capable of actually engaging with. But it does mean that quartz now exists, and that was one of the things I was waiting for because I don't want that to generate super far out and just be impossible to reach. So, you know how I said exactly one update ago that it was going to be a while until we got to the Nether? Welcome to the future. I excavated out a space underneath the base for the portal to actually live in, digging it in a way that will look, eventually, after I get the blocks, like the Nether is seeping out from that and trying to consume the base itself. The trick with the Nether portal is you always make sure that it's far enough away that you can't hear it, but close enough that you can get there quickly. And with the portal lit, it was time to jump in, be reminded just how far we've come. I forgot just how ugly the Nether used to look, but lava's now correct. Oh, I should have came here last update. That would have been wild. With me already being a little goblin in this dimension, it was time to mine up a ton of the blocks that I could use for decoration. I'm very used to playing in the Nether without fog, so navigation was a little bit complicated and it took me some time to search around, but I did rather quickly find a Nether fortress, which is going to be the main thing that I really wanted to grab here. I worked my way inside, finding my way to an area that had the Nether wart and soul sand that I need to work on potions, making sure to put up these little bars to protect me from wither skeletons, and fighting a few stray blazes to pick up rods so that I could actually get started with potion crafting. But I didn't have to rely on only the stray ones. I did find a spawner at some point, setting up some blocks near the front of it to make a very rudimentary blaze farm without shields and with a very limited food supply. I don't want to be set on fire, so just bashing them in the ankles, that's the strategy. I continued exterminating Sneeve's cousins up into day 27 when I grabbed a little bit of glowstone on my way back towards the base, making sure to solidify myself as the tennis master of this Minecraft world. Once on the other side, I used all the Nether blocks, planted some of the Nether wart, and set up the decoration surrounding the portal to make it actually look the way I wanted it to look, before doing a few of my general chores around the house and putting some more time into excavating and growing out the base, making sure that it's properly terraformed and integrated into the surrounding geometry. But another update that had happened somewhere along the lines is boats suck a little less right now. They're still not as good as they would be in the future, but it's been a while since we've gone and done some exploring. I ventured out over the water, just started heading in a direction, wanting to see what was on the other side, and oh boy. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of off-putting how quiet and empty this is. As soon as that little chunk of land disappears, nothing in front of us, nothing behind us, absolutely silent, and no life whatsoever. It is genuinely a little unsettling. It is just a completely silent activity. And we are, at this point, almost 3,000 blocks out. And there is nothing anywhere as far as the eye can see. Land, just as I said that. I did find and murder some sheep on the other side of the continental ocean, exploring around more on day 29, where somehow Antarctica or the North Pole was off to the west. I don't 100% get how this worked, but I'm not about to question it. Whether it's running along the icy, deserted plains or sailing over an ocean that has no plant life, no nothing, just endless fields of gravel underneath it, it really puts into perspective how much this game has changed. Oceans used to be void of basically everything except for the occasional ocean monument. Now, they're core areas with all sorts of structures and some of the most new and updated content hidden within. It's really kind of wild. I did find a jungle temple, so the world isn't completely barren. Right at the end of the day, looting that and grabbing the supplies, continuing my way back towards the base on day 30, and remembering that I can actually water bucket clutch on top of leaves in this version. I used a bit of the mossy stone from the temple and continued killing animals that could somehow phase through fences before wrapping up this update and preparing for yet another jump through time. Minecraft 1.6 is the horse update, but it also added things like terracotta, then called hardened and stained clay, the block of coal, carpets, and hay bales, all of which are things that feel so core to the game, but I remember when this got added. And considering this is the horse update, I figured it's been a long time since I've went and got a horse in Minecraft. I grabbed a saddle and headed off to the plains thinking maybe they'll spawn around here. After walking around for a little while, I figured maybe they won't, and the passive mob cap is filled, so I slaughtered every single innocent animal within sight, and nope, just more sheep and cows spawned. I used some mixed wools to craft a red bed because the logic works weird like that, killing cows, sheep, and anything else that I can find, including endermen, just trying to find a spot where some horses would spawn so I could tame one and bring it back to my base. I'm getting further and further out with each day, so that journey back is going to become more and more arduous, but thankfully the occasional enderman is spawning and I'm able to get pearls, which would eventually help me find my way to the stronghold. Okay, I'm starting to get a little nervous now. We're halfway through the horse update and I haven't even seen a horse. I did use a water bucket and some lava to cast up a quick portal, popping into the Nether and thinking, you know what, this will help me get back to base quicker and then I can explore off in a different direction. I didn't realize in the moment that I had gone through the portal that linked back to my base. So I did a little bit of exploring in what I thought was a new Nether fortress, but it turned out it was the exact same one. And when I went through the portal thinking that that would link to where I had put one into the desert, it sent me back to my base. I guess mission accomplished? And considering the fact that we hadn't found any horses, I thought, you know what? Maybe we should prepare for the other thing that we should be searching for. I want to head to the end, right around the 1.9 update, so I can go and get into Elytra at the same time. And I threw an eye, figuring out that it was pointing off to the east. Now, stronghold positions are going to change throughout several of these updates, so I have to be very careful with where these eyes are pointing me, because it might no longer point to an active stronghold, or point to a stronghold where it thinks one is, but it never generated. But that will be a problem for a future update me. I wrapped up day 35 by doing more work around the base, setting up a little area off in the corner with the birch plank floor so that I could turn that into an enchanting space, and creating and decorating a little bit of a bedroom / treasure hoard space, which would change. This base evolved with me as Minecraft evolved around me. As it got later into the night though, I'm going to need more pearls to craft more eyes to be able to find the stronghold, especially as they're about to change out from under me. So I spent the evening fighting zombies, husks weren't a thing yet, and endermen in the desert to just get more pearls. And as the sun started to rise, the world transformed yet again. And this time in a big way. 1.7.2 was the update that changed the world. And it was one of the last in recent memory major biome additions where multiple biomes were added all at once. We're talking savannas, sunflower plains, dark oak forests, mesas, all the different wood types that were added, coarse dirt, packed ice, all the leaves. But it also marked a major loss. The original rose was deprecated, being turned into a poppy. Can I get an F in the chat? Only the OGs will truly remember. But when I logged in, the first thing I was greeted with was a tutorial for playing the game. We're 30 days in, okay, but it's mainly because the tutorial and advancement system reset. That makes sense. I headed through the portal, using it to immediately fast travel back to the base, and started exploring off in the direction that the eyes had sent me. And it was a pretty straight line. Off direct to the north, it followed in line with what it had sent me in the previous update. So I'm thinking, you know what? This is probably a good sign. It's a ways out, but it's a good sign. You know, the thing that I forgot is that eye breaking was already a thing. For some reason, I had mentally prepared that as being added in a later update. So I did kind of run out of all of my eyes while following that straight line, unfortunately. So day 37, I headed back to home and headed down into the mines, because if I'm gonna get more pearls, and I haven't had the best luck with it, I'm gonna need looting. And to have that, I'm gonna need to do some enchanting. So I'm gonna need to prepare for an enchanting setup, getting myself up to level 30 and getting the diamonds and obsidian that I need. I spent over a full Minecraft day just searching around for a couple diamonds, and it took me into day 38 before I found any of them. But with that little bit, I dug my way into a ravine, went home, crafted up the enchanting table, and set up the very beginnings of enchanting. Now, it doesn't require lapis yet, but it is late enough that it doesn't also consume all of the levels that you use to get an enchantment, so I can actually do some rolls. There's no disenchanting, however, so you get one shot at getting something good. So without any major magical benefits, I'm back out to the desert and just slaying Endermen and hoping that the dice fall in my favor. Day 39, I'm exploring caves during the day, just trying to find Endermen that might happen to have gone underground, and just continued exploring until I saw a chunk border and a desert and a village. And in this version of Minecraft, clerics can trade you completed Eyes of Ender. So maybe a little bit of economics is on the docket. I'm grabbing all of the resources that I can find, the carrots and potatoes from the different farm paddocks, the different books and wheat, and trading a good chunk of it back to them to be able to get my very first emeralds. There's a couple valuable trades here, and I'm hoping that this is going to work out, but I'm also remembering that I'm on the clock for Project Uncraftable, and that I need to make my second god apple with quite a bit of gold before the update rolls around that disables it. So I'm fighting Enderman through the night, getting up to 5 pearls, making a heck of a lot of progress there, and then spending a bit of time going down into the caves underneath. And I had run out of torches, but I'm using a flint and steel to light my way, just grabbing whatever gold ore I can find and thinking I'm on the clock. This is the update that it all goes away. If I don't get this within the next 5 minutes, it's gone. And then it was time for the world to update, and I thought my opportunity had passed. Because it was time for 1.8, the Bountiful update. This one brought prismarine ocean monuments and new fences, banners, and a bunch of new decorative blocks. But one thing that it thankfully didn't remove was craftable god apples. Not yet. I've never been more happy to be wrong ever in my life. I was wrong. Oh geez, that's very close. I was wrong. It's 1.9, not 1.8, where crafting becomes impossible. We have another 5 days. Undo what I just said to you. But this flint and steel isn't gonna cut it. Let's get to the surface, get some torches, and then get back down here. But when I started to head to the surface, I heard the one sound no Minecrafter ever wants to hear. Oh no. Oh no, this is gonna take some time. We have the diamonds, we have 6. We can make another, but we're gonna want to find sticks. With my pickaxe broken and no supplies to be able to craft a new one, it's gonna either take me a really long time mining stone by hand, or I'm gonna have to traverse the caves, finding a new way up to the surface to be able to eventually see sunlight again, make the supplies I need, and head back down. Thankfully, it was a little bit more of the latter, where I was able to find my way back up to the surface through a little bit of caving, and then using the diamonds that I had collected during this mining expedition, crafted a brand new diamond pickaxe, which was gonna serve me so well. I'm smelting up all of the gold and iron and cooking potatoes to be able to have the supplies I need to head underground, and trading with my cleric villager friend here just for a couple emeralds. A quick diamond axe is what I needed to drop some acacia logs, and well, I noticed that something was odd with the rabbits. Bunnies. Oh my goodness, you're massive. Did bunnies used to be bigger than they are right now? Did they make bunnies smaller? I headed off in the direction of new chunks to be able to refresh my ores, finding both andesite and granite, 2 blocks that were added in this version of the game. Really think about that. I also spent some time killing Endermen throughout the night in the desert, where they're so much easier to find, to just shore up my pearl reserve so I'd have everything I need to find the dragon in the next update. The next morning, I stumbled across the first proper desert village in the world, even if it was the absolute smallest one possible, heading through the desert and finding a new cave down, and it's down to get the gold. I really want to make a second enchanted apple before it becomes impossible. And I have to say, mining in these newer chunks and seeing the different textures of stone, seeing diorite pop up occasionally, makes the caves feel a little bit more familiar at home. The sameness of stone being the only block underground was something that was lost on me until I realized that it was no longer missing. Oh. Okay, greed might not be a good strategy. Ooh. Okay, but there are diamonds right there. Sure, I was getting a little greedy, mining up all the diamonds that I could possibly find, just getting the advancement now, after mining it with my diamond pick. But I ended up with just enough gold to be able to actually accomplish this, getting to the surface and killing enough endermen to get all of the pearls I could possibly need, making my way back towards the village and starting smelting with Dr. Pistorius? I forget what his name was, just chilling with me. And on the morning of day 43, I did the impossible again. Oh, we even had a spare gold block. God apple number 2! Number 2! The fact that we were able to craft 2 of these is a massive success. That's one illegal thing in Minecraft done. I released the doctor, organized my inventory, and headed back towards home, making it with just enough time to be able to plant both the carrots and the potatoes into a new farm area in my base, and to enchant that pickaxe that I had just made, as well as all of my other tools. I was well over the levels that I needed now, and I want to be geared up for what's about to come next. Because with one illegal process down, I have another one that I'm planning, but I'm not able to do that quite yet, and it's going to require a lot of setup, so I need to start now. I planted the dark oak saplings that I had collected on my journey in order to be able to have another tree for the collection going into day 44, where I'm doing more enchanting on different bows, just trying to get all that I possibly could, getting flint and crafting up all of the arrows that I would need for the fight that was oncoming, and a brewing stand. Don't worry, it's not the main hardcore world, I'm allowed to do it here. And a brewing stand which didn't need blaze powder. That actually comes in the next update, so you could just make potions infinitely. That felt a little weird, I'm not gonna lie. But going against what I normally do when I'm about to fight the dragon, because I can't, because phantoms don't exist yet, the only potions I have on board are strength, to be able to make the actual battle itself go a little bit quicker. And after a little bit of decorating, it was time to check in on my little experiment. Oh, that is so cool. Those are about to become doubly illegal. Look at that. That is so cool. The next morning, I did enchanting on the remaining pieces of my armor. Even if they're not diamond, I want to be protected going into the dragon fight, which is happening very soon. I set up a second set of chests and labeled them all with item frames so that I could properly organize all of my inventory. Cooked up all of the potatoes I had, which would be my primary food source for basically the rest of the video. I'm a taters man, what can I say? And I looked out over the valley. We're approaching the halfway point of this adventure, and we've already come so far. But as I head to bed and called it there, it was time for probably the most divisive update in all of Minecraft. Minecraft 1.9, the combat update, or the update that Hypixel refuses to ever go to. Aside from the very divisive changes there, the big addition was the outer end islands, Elytra's end cities, chorus fruit, and dragon heads. All sorts of things that made fighting the dragon now far more advantageous than ever before. And when I logged in, it's time to immediately go and kill that dragon. I filled my pockets and started throwing eyes. This time it was pointing in the opposite direction of where it had pointed previously. And this is where it's gonna get a little bit complicated. I figure it might be a bit of back and forth just with the different versions and the changing of stronghold locations. So I jumped in my boat and followed it, but it was pointing to a set of chunks that were actually pre-generated. Now I thought maybe something is weird, something was different, so I mined my way down and found a mine shaft, but no stronghold. Searching around this for the majority of day 46. I'm getting into several caves, but I feel pretty confident it's not here. So, day 47, I headed off in another direction. The inner 3 strongholds are all in a triangle, so let's head off to where another one might just be. I found a desert temple that I was able to break all of the TNT inside, getting some decent loot from the interior, and continued running as long as the eye was pointing in a different direction, making my way a significant distance out into the ocean, and then not realizing that somewhere I had gotten turned around after digging down one of the times, and it was pointing back to where I just was. So okay, let's try this for real this time. I headed off seeing an ocean monument off in the distance in the new chunks. That was something that just got added last update. That's cool. And I headed off over 1,000 blocks north, making my way to a large mesa biome, which was brand new to this update as well. And the eyes just pointed back to the jungle. I headed up over and past 1,800 blocks, 2,000 blocks, when suddenly something clicked. And it turned. The eye was pointed a different way. So I sailed off in my boat, heading towards where the third stronghold could possibly be. Likely the negative positive stronghold, which would be at somewhere around 1k, and I'm really hoping it's there. Now, I don't want to burn more update time, so I continued running all the way through the night instead of sleeping here for a change, which meant you're seeing a lot of quick cuts and fighting of me killing whatever enderman I could possibly find because I'd lost a few eyes to breaking, as well as attempting to navigate around all of these mobs and figure out the coordinates. At one point in time, when the eyes told me to, I just started digging down, blocking over my head so that nothing would get me, and thankfully, I saw some stone bricks underneath my feet. Now, there wasn't an advancement for the stronghold, which was actually kind of funny. You'll get that next update, but there was a dungeon intersected here with some okay loot. I actually found the portal behind one of the hidden pathways, which that always seems to get me in these 100 days, just behind a wall portals, and it was time to go kill a dragon. Yes. Yes. Oh, there's no sound. Oh, and my helmet broke. With a quick blingy hat to accompany me, it was time to go for a battle. The platform was the first indication that this was definitely going to be different. The dragon's behavior was very clearly a second. And you've all seen a million dragon fights. And you've all seen a million dragon fights by now, so boop. Honestly, I love that shot. But I ran towards the central column. With strength on board, I'm just stabbing the dragon in the neck, which is doing a significant amount of damage. But unfortunately, not enough to do it in one perch. I'm not a one cycler after all. But it's not just the sword. The bow is important as well, and I landed that final shot to clinch victory. With the dragon slain, I collected all of the experience and her egg to be able to have that for a next generation. Building up to the outer end gateways, throwing my render distance all the way to 0 so I wouldn't die by a glitch that exists in this version, and teleported to the outer end island, where I immediately cranked that sucker right back up to 32 chunks to be able to see as far as possible. And just over the horizon, I saw the telltale purple blocks of an end city. Too bad it was a horrible one. But after killing multiple shulkers, I had myself questioning the very nature of this video. 1.11? 1.11? The end island is here, and we don't get shulker boxes for another 2 updates. What? Well, this is worthless. That, however, is not. Oh no, nope, do not levitate to death. Okay, so killing shulkers, let's let them be for another couple updates. So with shulker boxes off the table, I'm heading for a new city immediately, finding one with a ship off in the distance and bridging my way across in what is the sweatiest, scariest part of any Minecraft world. Oh my god, that actually scared the heck out of me. And that doesn't even matter when you try to accidentally kill yourself with a bucket and push yourself into the void. Since the shulkers aren't dropping anything useful, I want to leave as many of them here as possible so I can come back for more shells. So I pillared directly up to the boat itself, working my way in, and excuse me? Okay, so remember when that shulker appeared after not being there at first? I thought maybe if I logged back in, this was the kind of the same thing because item frames are entities, and thankfully I was right. With whatever wizardry was just happening with that item frame, maybe it returned from the dimension that my horse was stuck in from the very first 100 days updating. Let me know if you know how that happened in the comments. I threw the wings on and started gliding back home. Being completely out of food, I'm munching on chorus fruit at the very end, not realizing and forgetting that it would teleport me and giving myself a heart attack by ending up on the platform again before making my way to the end portal and returning to the overworld. We did it! 1.9, the go find the end and get your wings update that you can't even see on the back. They're very ethereal. That is so weird. Okay, well, since I don't know what's going on there, now, time for the next update. And I'd returned to Minecraft 1.10, the Frostburn update, which added polar bears and strays, which totally makes sense, and husks, which totally don't. I started this update by crafting a chamber for the dragon egg. I want to have different trophies and acknowledgements of my accomplishments in this world as part of my base. And while it might be a little blank for right now, I'll have to go back for more resources, it's at least something. With that done, I put all those levels to work to enchant up a few books to prepare for my next illegal Minecraft accomplishment, which will come in 1.14. But I'm also doing chores around the neighborhood, taking care of sugarcane, potatoes, carrots, and the sheep. Taking care of the sheep has a different meaning in this context, but it's been a while since I've done some caving, so I headed down into the mines to grab some spare resources, just a little bit of knickknacks here and there. That continued all the way through to day 52, where I ended up scaling out of the ravine to the tallest part of the entire mountain range. That took me way longer than it should have. I set all the resources to smelt, making myself an anvil, which is one of the main things I went down mining for in the first place. This way I can add books to my existing weapons or books to books. I crafted up a pair of diamond boots and got those enchanted and set up, and now I'm feeling like I'm in a really good spot. So let's do some base work. I started covering up an area, just leveling out some space to make a large area in front of the base to be able to decorate, and I want to hear nothing about it being hollow. That would take way too long. Day 53, I'm turning the cows into leather and then into books to do even more enchanting, just to get all of the different types I would need. Heading out to the water to gather up some clay, which I can smelt into bricks to be able to do a little bit more decorating in different ways. I was doing more enchanting over the night into day 54, where I had to go with free range cow murder instead of at home cow murder because the supply was running low. Once I had killed 24 books worth of cows and set the meat up to cook, I'm actually gonna need a little bit more coal, so I jumped down into the cave to just quickly get that before the day ended. And as long as I'm down here, I'm gonna keep mining on day 55, grabbing a whole bunch of redstone and really just searching around for diamonds. I'm getting any gold that I could find and striking out on the diamond front, which means I'm not gonna be in full diamond armor despite having killed the dragon and been over halfway through this challenge. I do like taking it a little bit slower though, and a little bit differently. It's not just about the destination, especially in videos like this. Sometimes it's about the journey. I wrapped up this update by just doing some color theory on the window, making that some softer colors and a little bit easier on the eyes. And now it's time for Minecraft 1.11, the exploration update. And here's where we actually got all of the different pillager types, which were added with woodland mansions in dark oak forests. The shulker shells are now a thing with shulker boxes. Totems and llamas were both added to the game. Some of my favorite things to see in the world, especially when they're attached to a wandering trader. With some renewed purpose, I grabbed some rockets and headed out, continuing my intercontinental cow murdering rampage, heading down the little hole that I had made through the stronghold and off into the end. Now, since end cities are far more valuable to loot, with shulker shells being a thing, I flew through, heading back to the original city that I had plundered before and killing all of the shulkers that existed here. Grabbing some of the diamond tools and armor that exist in the chest loot at the very top of the city, which is going to help me build out my actual full armor kit. Shulker boxes make this infinitely easier, and I honestly can't imagine Minecraft without them. Maybe 1.21 will have more inventory updates for us in the future. But I'm actively combining things, and I want to keep an eye out for armor with all the different protection enchantments so I can make my illegal god armor in 1.14. And looting end cities just feels like a nice change of pace after focusing on the valley for so long. That continued into day 57, finally getting a good pair of pants, which could replace my iron ones, and picking up a second and then a third elytra a little bit later in the day, so I'd have backups since I don't have either unbreaking or mending just yet. Day 58, I continued my end busting spree, and just look at the contents of these shulker boxes. One almost exclusively filled with diamond tools and armor, and another stacked to the brim with super valuable resources. I'm grabbing anything I can in the remaining ones, seeing an end gateway right on top of the city, which brought me back to the portal and then quickly back to the overworld. And now, with much more to my name, I'm able to build out and properly finish this egg containment monument? Idol? I'm not 100% sure what to call it, but it's looking good. I'm also combining swords on the anvils here and starting to organize my ender chest to get some proper inventory management live in this thing. Having neglected this dimension for so long, I did a little bit of farming before flying over towards the desert, getting multiple zombie zombie villagers all trying to attack me in a nice, neat little conga line. I kited them around, throwing down multiple boats and getting them all to jump in, building a roof above their heads and really hoping that they would survive long enough that I'd be able to use them to establish a village in a later update. Curing them would be easy, but it's not the right time to do it just yet. So I'm really hoping they make it. But we are coming up on yet another update, so I just need to do preparations. We're coming into 1.12, which is gonna bring with it a brand new mob. So I used leather to repair all of the elytra the last time I'm gonna be able to do so, and grab some brown mushrooms, which I was able to turn into fermented spider eyes to make some weakness potions, which I would use later to cure villagers. And one very glitchy sleep later, it's time for the next update. Minecraft 1.12 is the World of Color update, adding all of the different colored concretes, colored beds, glazed terracottas, parrots, and keeping 2B2T isolated from the rest of the Minecraft world. It also replaced the old achievement systems with the new advancement systems and a whole new set of them, which means you're going to see all sorts of out-of-place advancements for the next couple days. Since this was the World of Color update, I figured maybe I should go get some of the different terracottas to be able to use them to decorate my base. I know it's not the concrete, but it's way easier to craft. So I flew off, having to switch elytras mid-flight. You really miss unbreaking when you don't have it. Finding a couple different desert temples, which had some really decent loot inside, including one very special chest. No way. No way. No way did I just get... You can't even craft these anymore. And now I have 3. You can't even make this up. And despite knowing exactly where a mesa had been in the past, I had somehow gotten so wildly misdirected off course that I'm just looting desert temples throughout the rest of the night. And on the morning of day 62, I realized I had headed the complete wrong direction. So I started heading back home, finding a witch's hut in the middle of the ocean on the way, grabbing her cauldron. That's totally not a bad idea. Landing at the base, taking care of the different residents and subjects that I have caged up in these pens to serve exclusively me, and realizing that I actually have just a little bit longer that I can repair my elytra with leather. One very glitchy sleep later, and I don't know how to fix that bed. I headed off to go check on those zombie villagers, and, well, oh, they disappeared. No. Dang, that was gonna be so nice having them right here. But this time I actually headed in the proper direction, so I ended up in the mesa biome relatively quickly. It's barely 1,000 blocks away. I don't know how I get so lost in these worlds, but I spent a good chunk of the day just collecting all of the different terracottas of several different colors. I'm also just generally flying around the world. Things like mansions and new biomes had been added throughout many of these different updates, and I wanted to see if I could find one. I have to travel pretty far out at this point to explore anything new, so just throwing rockets at the problem is really my only answer. I also noticed that my OG bed was officially labeled as a red one. We get to make different colors now. On day the best video console ever, I grabbed a little bit of beetroot from one of the villages to be entirely useless and sit in a chest for no purpose whatsoever, and then
murdered cows relentlessly through the rest of the day.
But I'm swinging by villages and desert temples, any POI that I could potentially find, repairing elytras every time I happen to pass anywhere close to home, and using the terracotta to make the roof a little bit gentler on the eyes. I thought to do something crazy with all of the glazed terracotta in the roof area of the enchantment space, and I'm actually gonna tweak this several times, so don't flame me in the comments if this is bad right now. In the moment, it felt like a good idea. Just trust me. But to wrap up this update, I wanted to stay a little bit more on brand, converting all of the beds to blue to match the color scheme. It is my skin after all. And doing a little bit more tweaking with different types of glazed terracottas on the roof of the enchanting area. I also remembered that I should continue with the glass pane conversion that I did 2 updates ago, converting the rest to gray so it's a little bit easier on the eyes. And before the next update rolled around, I started planning the next expansion for the base, a proper bedroom instead of just sleeping by all my diamonds. Actually, who wouldn't want to sleep by all of their diamonds? Forgetting that though, Minecraft 1.13 is the update Aquatic, and it completely revamped Minecraft's oceans, bringing mobs that probably feel just very endemic to the world right now. Things like pufferfish, dolphins, drowned, fish that actually exist, and phantoms were all some of the major additions, as well as bringing new life and tons of new underwater blocks. You know what else it brought? Trapdoors! all the different trapdoors in all of the different woods. So I was finally able to use that to decorate the front of the house and around the window. And you can finally place chests next to each other. So huge W all around. But it's the update aquatic. Let's head out to the ocean. I fought the first couple stray drowned that I found in the ocean, which oddly look a little bit more animated in this older version. Is this just me? But there was a trident bearer almost immediately after. Unfortunately, they didn't give up the battle fork. I flew north towards the Mesa biome, crazy that you can remember where it actually is, and started looting any of the sunken ships, a new addition for this update, just seeing what was hanging out back there. Now, the very first treasure map that I found turned out to be a bit of a scam. I'm thinking it might have been across chunk borders, so it didn't actually spawn. Not exactly setting a good example. And that set a weird tone for day 67, where I found some decent stuff inside of a village blacksmith, but when I went down into a desert temple, there were no chests here. And I never broke any chests in a temple. That's just weird. 1.13, the scam update. Wait, what? What? I can do that? The scam update. But I flew around fighting drown and raiding any ships I could see across the ocean, really enjoying and remembering that this is so core to Minecraft as I think of it now, but it's novel after playing older Minecraft for so long. On day 68, I got my first overlapping treasure map, which feels like it's the world giving me a bit of a sign that this might be time to call it quits and do something else. So I proceeded to, of course, go loot until I got a second overlap, and yeah, no, okay, I get the hint, world, okay. So I flew back home, making all of the different bookshelves and different things that I would need to prepare for the next update, where I'm gonna try to do something that is once again illegal in Minecraft. So I loaded up my shulker with all of the books, and on haha funny number day, headed out towards the stronghold to start executing on my master plan. I built a barrier around the portal, and then I need to turn this into a relatively efficient Enderman farm. And if I were a smart man, or a predictable one, I would build an Enderman farm down at y=0 with an Endermite, which would attract all of the Endermen and just pull them forward. However, call me D&D, because I'm subverting expectations. I'm doing what is probably a much harder way. And I'm just trying to flood the entire end island to force all the Endermen to spawn in a specific location. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't think a single one of you would have called this idea. As I go into day 70, having flooded about a third of the island so far, I made a little too high section and then just looked around and started stabbing any Enderman that I could find to see if this would be moderately efficient. And it's kind of working. So I built up all of the bookcases and spent the rest of the day putting myself on the clock to flood as much of this island as possible. And Sierra probably never wants to hear the sounds of a Minecraft bucket ever again, but I actually got maybe about half of the island flooded in only 2 days worth of work. But as I checked the timer and I checked the clock, it was time to update, and we were going to be fighting against time to do what came next. Minecraft 1.14 is the Village and Pillage update, which modernized trading and brought villagers up to where we know them today. But there's a little known thing about this update, where if you play on a specific version, you can do something that the game never intended. To do that though, you have to remember to bring an anvil, so I had to take a quick little boop, 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 and then I'm back in the end getting ready to do this. For each of these updates, I've been working in the latest version of each of the updates, but I'm not doing that for 1.14, and there's a very specific reason. In 1.14.2, you can combine different protection enchants and allow them to overlap, allowing you to create god tier armor. And that's my goal for these next 5 days. I want as much of the illegal enchants overlapping as possible, hence why I have the enchanting setup, all of the anvils, and I'm just killing Endermen by the dozens to get the experience I need to do it. But the farm isn't being super efficient yet, so I spent a little bit of time on day 72 flooding more of the island, and rates definitely improved. Again, at this point, this is the sunk cost fallacy. I am sticking with this underwater island idea, and I'm not gonna build a proper farm. My helmet was the first thing I was able to make illegal with both protection and fire protection on it. And while I'm spreading out more water, I built a secondary killing chamber on the other half of the island that was not yet fully flooded, and was able to start bouncing between the two back and forth, getting my chest plate to be in a really interesting state soon after that. But I'm not just for my armor, I'm repairing and combining tools as well, since this is the get as absolutely stacked as possible update for me, and I'll get to trading a little bit later. But after combining most of my armor pieces to have at least 2, sometimes 3 overlapping armor sets, I realized that for the sake of you all, me killing Enderman for 5 days straight is gonna be kind of boring, so let's head back home.
Hello there.
Oh, I got jump scared. And since this is the village and pillage update, let's go out, find a village, get the last enchants I would need to truly make my armor S tier by throwing mending on everything, and checking in to see how far villages have come. And on day 74, as I was just kind of minding my own business, I did find a village that had a librarian trader who was willing to sell me mending. The nearby desert temple was actually pretty well looted as well. I grabbed a little bit of leather to be able to make the books, to be able to buy all of the mending books, and I saw a pillager raid just coming through the middle of the village, and you know what I had to do. All right, let's do a raid. Let's do this. This is gonna be interesting. Now, normally I like to take on raids from a much more protected stance, either in the stacking raid farm that I have in my hardcore world or in anything else. You'll normally see me perched on top of a house, and I figured, you know what? This is the kind of world, and this is a perfect village for it. Water on two sides. I'm taking this thing boots on the ground the whole way through. Having just thrown infinity on my bow was invaluable to be able to maintain distance, and getting a totem from the first evokers that I saw definitely made me feel a little bit more invincible. I'm running around and just sorting everybody when the raid bar multiplied. Okay, there's two raids happening simultaneously. This is about to get very complicated. But with my god tier armor, the only mobs that can really damage me are the evokers, the Vex, and the Ravagers. So as long as I kite them, I can do pretty good. I continued through the night, just an endless epic battle. And then suddenly, it just stopped. Hey friend, are you still alive? Hi. Okay, so I don't know what happened because I still have bad omen, but we didn't finish the raid. So with a little bit of confusion and an anticlimactic end to the battle, I stuffed my pockets, drank some milk, which somehow made the pillagers forget that they hate me. Calcium cures all things. But I flew over towards another nearby village, throwing down a lectern, trapping a villager in a house, and keeping them here until they taught me the magic that I wanted to know. Oh my god, that was like 4 rolls. Yes, please. This is amazing. After saving them from drugs, I'm stopping off at each of the fields on my way back home to use mending by killing mobs to repair my elytra.
Betrayal.
Nice, I got it. And just as I arrived home, it was time to sleep. Time to make these phantoms go away. Also time for our next update. Minecraft 1.15 was bees. Mainly just bees. There's some redstone stuff too, but I'm nowhere near smart enough to understand that. And considering this update gives me less to go out and explore around for, I instead want to take the time to focus here at home. I did a little bit of inventory organization, dropped off a lot of the loot, spent some time building out the Nether potion brewing area that was on the main floor, and then started digging up to an upper floor where I want to actually build a secondary window and build a dedicated bedroom space where I could store trophies from all the different versions of the game and just do it a little bit differently than my strictly linear base in my first 100 days. I've also learned a lot as far as building, so doing things like doing different contrast blocks in some of the different areas, utilizing different areas of depth and texturing, things that I just didn't do when I picked Minecraft back up in 2020 and made my first 100 days video and reignited my career in this game. I also took some time to go out and decorate in front of the base as well, taking that big flat area and making what I can only describe as a campsite, what should feel like a little park directly in front of the giant hobbit hole base that I call my own. I set up some different campfires, some logs to sit on, which I wish Minecraft would add. I improved the pathing by using, well, paths, and spent the next day adding leaves that I sheared from all of the trees around to bring greenery to the actual interior. But as the geometry was coming together, there were certain things I just had to do, okay? Can't make a house like this and not try this. I mean, I have multiple totems, so this is worthwhile. Like a glove. That is so perfect. I'm leaving that just like that. With the base a bit more fleshed out and needing to repair some of my tools now that I had mending on basically everything or needed the levels to add it, I headed back over to the end to do a little bit more enderman slaughtering. I can't make god armor, but I can make my existing stuff better. On day 79, I actually bred all the animals as another source of experience. It's actually pretty effective. And I threw down some different flowers around a birch sapling and constantly grow that. Little did you know, and what I didn't know the first time playing through this, you could actually spawn a beehive this way. and it worked pretty effectively. It only took like a half dozen tries. From there, I used the bone meal to just add grass and flowers all around my base, beautifying and prettifying the area. And with that all good, I wanted to do a little bit more exploring before the next update to the world, which I'm gonna be in the Nether for exclusively. So I ventured out, finding old villages that were now abandoned, shipwrecks that were stuck under the water for ages, and sleeping on the mesa that I had forgotten where it had been in the past. But I sailed through the dark oak forest, grabbed a few different plants that I could bring home for decoration, and different blocks and hay bales that now existed in villages. They had been enhanced yet again. Realizing that I also never picked them up since they've been added, I went back and grabbed some granite and andesite and a little bit of diorite from just exposed stone patches throughout the world and sailed home, putting all of those to use to decorate the area directly in front of my base and make it feel just a little bit more populated, a little bit more dense. And with that, I headed up to the bedroom and slept as we start getting into what I like to think of as modern Minecraft. Minecraft 1.16 is the Nether update. It completely redid the dimension, revolutionized speedrunning, and how most people interact with this game. It was also the version of Minecraft that I most actively played after returning to the scene, so this holds a special place in my heart. And because this is the Nether update, we're gonna spend the next 5 days almost exclusively in that dimension. I filled up all of my pockets, grabbed all I could, made sure to have a gold helmet on, and headed off to the Nether, which without my fog mod is a little bit harder to navigate. I flew through several of the new biomes over the Crimson Forest and the Soul Sand Valley, coming up upon a bastion, which I feel far more confident looting nowadays than when I died in my first hardcore world. I grabbed all of the gold blocks from here, killed a whole bunch of magma cubes to be able to get magma cream, which I will need for potions, coming up on a Nether fortress where I did a drive-by on a blaze to get the ingredients I would need to do potion brewing on the Nether floor to make myself some fire resistance. I flew through a basalt delta, which I didn't spawn in only because it didn't exist when I generated the Nether, and then started heading underground to find some ancient debris. Okay, that'll do. First piece of ancient debris. Let's get ready for more booms though. With that very good initial bit of progress, I started laying down the TNT and built my first excavation tunnel. Now this is where things probably start to look familiar in a Minecraft playthrough. I'm flying around with fire resistance on, trying to get the different ancient debris. It's completely blast proof, while Netherrack is very, very susceptible to explosions, so triggering big chains of TNT bombs is a really great way to expose it. I was able to get up to 21 pieces of ancient debris, which is just a little bit short of what I need to fully convert my armor and primary tools, so we have a little bit more to do, but now I'm out of TNT. So the next day, I sailed out knowing that there's another place where you can find netherite bastions. The first one that I found that I was able to loot into was a treasure bastion, and I was able to do this really cool elytra parachuting motion to drop straight onto the treasure pile itself. And well, you might say I got a little overconfident. Ooh. Oh, okay, that was horrifically close. Getting flashbacks to my Series 1 hardcore world was not what I had on the menu, so I killed the brute and then took the next one just a little bit more careful. I did find some netherite scrap in one of the loot chests here, which put me one closer to my overall goal. But I don't only want to steal from the piglins, I also want to do some business. So I captured a few in a hole and made them very, very rich, throwing gold at them endlessly to do some bartering. After the stock markets had closed, I'd spent day 84 getting genuinely lost in the Nether and just exploring around. Look at this. The least open Nether ever. Honestly, I'm gonna roll with it. This is too good to just not. And I have to say, this is where my own bias for convenience mods made me feel a little bit out of my depth. The Nether fog definitely makes it a lot harder to navigate. And when you play it kind of as Mojang intended, you can see how the dimension contains a little bit more danger than you would think. But digging into bastions and looting them, I'm picking up anything useful. I did find a lodestone in one, so now I'm never gonna get lost finding my way home in the overworld at least. But knowing that my base is practically near 0-0 in the Nether, I just started flowing in that direction, following coordinates, passing several fortresses that I would get really excited about if this was a long-term world because they'd be amazing for farms. Once I was through the portal and back into the overworld, I immediately started smelting up the ancient debris, and I was able to convert all of my armor and my primary tool and weapon into netherite in a single go. Oh yeah, this is more like it. To close out this update, I started shearing and culling all of the sheep. I'm gonna need a lot of wool for things that are coming very, very soon. But I immediately put some of that to use in a snout banner pattern that I had grabbed to craft up a very rough flag to commemorate my very first hardcore world and throw it up in the base. I also nabbed the country load advancement and used a little bit of andesite to add even further texturing to the walls, trading out all of the torches for lanterns to make everything feel more complete. And with that, it was time for a 2-in-1 update. Okay, don't take this as some sort of commentary on Caves and Cliffs and Caves and Cliffs Part 2. It's not that. I forgot that with 1.0, there's 21 updates, and I needed to combine or skip something somewhere or do 105 days, so this is what we're gonna go with. I don't wanna hear any commentary about that. 1.17 and 1.18 collectively make up the Caves and Cliffs update, which totally revamped world generation again, but did it in a way that you won't see really harsh chunk borders anymore. The world got taller with mountains and deeper with completely revamped cave generation. And with a whole new version of the world to go explore, we went and started exploring. Having these massive underground caves that you can explore and actually fly around in puts into perspective the large caves that we had all the way back in like 1.2 and 1.3. Remember when I said that earlier in the video? But I'm grabbing some deep slate that I can turn into the different versions, finding some diamonds along the way, which if you know where to look are actually way easier to get nowadays. But we're flying from cave to cave so I can get all of the new blocks when I saw an azalea tree above ground. So I dove underwater and dug into a sneak attack. Oh, thank goodness for the god armor. That just did a whole lot to protect us from that problem. Here we go. Lush caves. I grabbed some flowers and glowberries that I can use to do further decorations to my base back at home, coming up on a spruce village and stealing bells as I am just compelled to do whenever I see a village. And you can tell that because there were 2 clips and they were not the same one repeated. On day 88, I'm collecting any sugarcane that I see, passing over a massive frozen peaks biome where I was able to get my first bucket of powdered snow. From there, I headed home, nailing the entrance right through the hole in the middle of the windows and dropping down all of the blocks that I had collected to make the base feel that much more magical. And we're moving fast. Day 89, I am using moss and bone meal to add all sorts of new color and diversity and decoration to the area, especially the campsite directly in front of the base. I'm throwing down azalea bushes and hanging flower pots using the giant pink flower that I forget what its name actually is. It's just the giant pink flower. And converting a lot of the cobblestone stairs to deep slate to bring in some deeper, darker tones, which contrasts with the very bright wood floor. I threw down some paintings, which there are definitely no secrets hidden behind, and started converting the area that used to be a treasure space into a little bit of a workshop with nice brick walls and some different details put into the floor to make the whole thing feel a little bit more well thought out. I'm putting up paintings, armor stands with some of the spare armors from enchanting, and when I grabbed some other ones, I saw some weird advancements. I am in full netherite. I've seriously not touched iron since advancements were added to the game. That is my first armor set though, that can just chill right there. That's awesome. And while doing more chores and adding just a few more natural details, I made a disturbing realization about my base. I just noticed how much like a face the base currently looks. Just oh no, I didn't do this on purpose. And if I add more circles, it's only gonna make it worse, because then it's gonna be like a big alien face. This is just my friend who's who just hasn't had their coffee in the morning, and they're just like, Welp. On that note, Let's prep for the next update. Pareidolia aside, I upgraded the item frame for my totem into a glowing one and then lay down and prepared for the next update. Minecraft 1.19, the wild update, was the most modern at the time that I started recording this video. It adds the deep dark and the warden and mangrove swamps, frogs, and allays. And you know which one of those we're likely hunting out immediately. Okay, so we're in my modern installs, which means you can zoom into me now. This is finally a thing. We have connected textures, so the windows look better, but the thing I'm actually excited about is, let's turn on shaders. It is really wild to see what is very old terrain lit in a very modern presentation with modern water and everything else. First, I want to know why I'm losing frames, because that should not be the case. I'm like below 60. I want to see what it looks like. So, oh, I can't get rid of the buttons. But look at that. 1.0 terrain lit and presented in a very 1.19 modern 1.20-ish style. And I'm very happy with that. I did a little bit of more work around the base with shaders on until I felt like it was time to go head out. We want to find an ancient city and do so as quickly as possible, but we don't want to loot it just yet. So I just flew off in a direction several thousand blocks out before I started realizing that we were in new chunks by seeing lava just freshly running down the side of a mountain. I'm stopping by anything that happens to catch my eye, including at one point an igloo that unfortunately didn't have a basement, but the main thing we're doing is killing creepers. With my rockets replenished, I dove down into a deep, dark descent, finding a deep dark which eventually led my way towards an ancient city. And I'm trying to play this one big-brained. Okay, here's the play. We're gonna loot like half of this right now. We're gonna get a warden spawned. Then we're gonna get out of here, and we're gonna come back when armor trims are a thing in the last 5 days. See if we can get the silence armor trim. We're just gonna fly in over there, grab those chests while the shriekers run, and then just book it out. That's the plan. Admittedly, not a great plan, but this is the plan. Caution to the wind, I dove down and immediately started looting chests, only getting through 4 of them before a warden spawned, chasing me up to the surface where I flew to the sky. I had gotten some decent stuff. I didn't actually check until I was out of harm's way, realizing I had gotten a Swift sneak book, which was huge. But there's one other thing that I wanted, and the goats were gonna give it to me. The first one might not have been promising, but horde number 2? Yeah, horde number 2 was S tier. Oh, it's the good one! It's the really good one! This one's my favorite. One of my favorite advancements. It's just so silly and I love it. Yes. With another advancement collected, I wanted a shortcut here in 1.20, so I built a nether portal, recorded the coordinates, and flew back towards spawn, using a little bit of skulk amongst all of the other nether blocks to further decorate and create some detail around the portal. From there, I rocked out to some music that I'm throwing my editor's track on instead. Go follow him on Spotify, he deserves it. Before heading off in another direction, just seeing what else I could find. There was more massive caves that I was able to dig into, finding an amethyst instead of the deep dark, and a few diamonds, which is way easier with shaders on, and you can make them glow. But I couldn't find any bamboo, despite how many jungles I had flown over, and that was the last thing I definitely wanted for 1.20 that I could guarantee, since cherry groves would be kind of hard to find. I did some trick shots in flying through the deepest caves and admired the highest heights. Yo! Oh, there's absolutely something good under here. But also, oh wait, oh, I've been here already. This is a village. Yes, I've been here. Are all the older villagers gone? I think they might have been deleted somehow. Oh, no, you're here, hello. Oh, but you're a new, like a new villager. Put it in perspective. Do you remember how far away this felt. Remember how far away that village felt when we were here 50 days ago? And now it's like, it's just 50 blocks over that way. It's wild. It really, really puts things into perspective once you get an elytra. How small the world can feel, or how big the world feels before it. While musing about relative distance, I was throwing down a little bit of deep slate to continue with the natural decorations around the base before doing a little bit more wool shearing the following day, because I'm gonna prepare for a deep dark raid the second it rolls over to 1.20, and doing some enchanting on a fishing rod in order to catch a pufferfish, which I did on cast number 2 to get some water breathing potions, because I think you can guess it, we're going for all the trims. And with that, it's time for the last 5 days, and I'm going to be completely honest. It will genuinely be my very first time playing 1.20. So let's get started. And we've arrived at our destination. Minecraft 1.20, the Trails and Tales update. Adds bamboo blocks, cherry wood as well, chiseled bookshelves, but archaeology, something we had seen almost 2 years earlier and far better than the original design. Because with Sniffers, suspicious stand, and armor trims, there was so much more to it this time around. I logged into the world and it's time to go right away. We headed through the portal and back into the Nether, which not all my mods were updated, so I once again have Nether fog, which made navigation just a little bit more difficult. I did eventually find the portal, ending up on top of the mountain, diving in, and this time taking the deep dark much more carefully. I'm throwing wool around all of the chests, and on my second one, well, just watch. Yes! 2 chests, that's all it took. That is the rarest armor trim in the game in 2 chests. That's too good. But I continued looting around, getting both of the ancient city trims within a half a dozen chests or so, and no shrieker alarms. That wasn't until the very next chest when I got a shrieker alarm. Actually, wait, no, I got several because, and once I had one, I thought, you know what, why not just spawn another warden in here, no big deal. So I flew away in a panic heading up the mountain, and something was weird with the sound because I could hear the warden way too high up. Going into day 97, where I flew out over the ocean. Now, I was originally going to take on that very first monument all the way back in the 1.9 chunks, but I figured it's here and I could save on travel time. I dive on my way in, being able to mine enough blocks to be having a direct route to 2 of the 3 Elder Guardians before the mining fatigue even kicked in, just taking them on face to face. I normally like to use a trident or a bow to be able to do this, but we're just going stabbing, and I did pick up the Tide armor trim. I sailed out of there, heading back towards land, and made my way towards a giant taiga biome, which is one of the places where you can find a trail ruins, but all I was finding was amazing terrain. Oh, this is so good. Hey, this map, this very glitchy map, will be available for you all. If anyone makes a build here, send it to me. Because I want to see what you can do. There's the coordinates. Show me what you got with this space. This map will be available on my Patreon. I would love to see what you all can make with that. Nearby to that was a village, and it was getting late, so I figured I would just stop over there. But as I was walking around, I saw the top of a trail ruins, something I haven't even found in my main hardcore world yet. So I had to spend some time killing some chickens, grabbing just a single piece of copper and smelting that up to make a couple rushes that I could take that on the following day. But that did require clearing the area of several dangerous mobs throughout the night. Once the morning came though, I had my first experience taking on this little mini game inside of the world. And it does change the way that you think about working with gravel, because gravity is now your enemy. Whereas before you just hold your shovel in one place to clear out a whole spot. I was able to get several pottery shards and a couple pieces of armor trim as well. But the funniest thing happened when I uncovered this loom in the middle of the ruins and then had a friend come up and say, oh wait, yo, that's mine.
Hello there.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's wild. Oh, please tell me it always works like that. This is your house now. You live here for forever, buddy. Leaving the newly excavated ruins to the villagers, I took a quick nap over in their bed, and realizing that I'm on my last full day in this world, thought it might be a good idea to head home. And the trip through mountains, through snow, through mesas, and then over oceans was literally a journey backwards through time, heading to older and older chunks, until I got to the place that I was calling my home. Something unrecognizable from the 1.0 terrain that it had started at, and a memory and a catalog of everything I had done since. I took all of the different armor trim templates that I had collected from the trail ruins, from the ancient city, and trimmed out my armor. Might not be the set that I would absolutely want, but it is a perfect commemoration of everything that I had done in this world. With a unique look on my person, I had a little bit of ability to trick out the extra armors that were sitting here, and as I flew through my village, looking over it, the light bathing the land with blocks from every generation of this game, I flew right through the nose of the face of my base, took a quick nap, and on the morning of day 100, looked out the window and prepared myself for new adventures. I hope you all enjoyed this journey through Minecraft's history. If you want to support big video projects like this, become a YouTube member or join us on Patreon. Names of the amazing people who already do that are what you see on screen right now. I'll be back with another multiversal adventure very, very soon. Take care of yourselves. Be good to each other. Good night.